from the age of 12 or something. And I started teaching adult classes from 15 years old.
Wow.
So I would teach like 40 adults.
Oh my goodness.
And at that time, little tiny 15-year-old me was trying to be the boss of all these.
Yeah.
Because in Korea, adults don't really do martial arts, or adults don't really. It's not Korean lifestyle, 생활, to do that sort of thing. But in Australia and other places in the world, it's very popular for fitness, for self-defense, for whatever reason.
You know, I forgot to ask you, what is a quote or something that you live by, or a motto, or maybe a taekwondo quote that your father taught you? Please share it with our, viewers out there if you have one.
My father, maybe it's living in a martial arts family. He always had some philosophy, just like watching The Karate Kid, always had some philosophical thing to say. I can't think of anything right now, to be honest. I would say, be truthful. You know?
That's good. Simple, and that's what it is. Be truthful.
Yeah.
And have you, taken this as a kid and always, put it into your life?
Yeah. I think honor was something very very important in our family, and honor comes from being truthful, and I think everyone knows what the truth is, or what is right and what is wrong, and people with honor know what is right and follow it.
Yeah.
Some people know what is right and ignore it, So, like, when you see someone smoking or throwing a piece of rubbish on the ground, people know not to litter, but they do it anyway because they're just hoping that no one will notice.
Right. This shooting star moment is a great expression here. Earlier, David said rubbish, R-U-B-B-I-S-H, rubbish. In Australia, and of course sometimes in Europe, we say rubbish, meaning trash. 쓰레기죠. So the Australian English is different a little bit for the American English. But of course in America we understand rubbish, R-U-B-B-I-S-H, or sometimes we say, please don't litter, L-I-T-T-E-R, or just stuff on the ground. Garbage도 되죠. 쓰레기예요. So rubbish, remember that. And trash, garbage, or litter. Okay, don't litter. All right.
Don't litter.
Yeah, don't litter. But so when you see this, you just kind of want to say, hey, you did something wrong, and you want to pick up that trash for them, or?
I actually did that once.
Oh, you did?
In Dokokdong. I was on the phone with someone, and a car had pulled up to the intersection, and a guy had unwrapped his ice cream and just threw it out his window. And I was on my phone, and I kind of just walked over. Picked up a piece of trash. I looked at him. I passed it into him. I kept on with my conversation. I walked back to the other side of the road, and I turned around and I just watched to see what he was going to do. And I think he was very embarrassed.
That he threw that away. It's like a commercial, like a documented commercial. It's one of those campaigns. Pick up your trash. Yeah. Pick up your rubbish. And you didn't say anything. You just picked it up.
I didn't think I needed to.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to create any
bad
harmony or anything like that.
So honor and truth, just knowing what's right, what's wrong, choose the right way, right? It's very simple, black and white. Yeah, and if it's kind of like that gray, what do you do?
I think especially in the film industry, there's a feeling of, people fall in love with the fantasy of the film industry, not necessarily the reality of the industry, And I think for people in the industry, or for people wanting to go into the industry, some people see the red carpet and the glitz and the glamour, and it's really not about that.
It's not. Take this time, if you can give us a little resume of what all you have done in the film industry, a list, So if you can share with our viewers of all the things that you've done.
I don't know what, I started as an actor, But I also, because I did martial arts, I was asked to do an action role, and I was asked to do the fight choreography for the action movie. And so initially, I was studying at university at that time, physical therapy or physiotherapy, or in Korea they call it 물리치료, I think. And it just opened this new world. I never looked at movies the same way ever again, and I started picking up acting classes. And I went from doing a lot of action films, Jackie Chan films, the Matrix sequels, and then somehow along the way I got cast for a bunch of Korean commercials. So then I got involved with the Korean film industry, and then they found out that I also produced. So then there was one commercial that starred Jackie Chan, and because I had done the Jackie Chan film, they asked me to produce this film commercial. Mm-hmm. So I got thrown in the deep end. This commercial was shot in Thailand. $4.5 million commercial, 4-day shoot, hundreds of extras, explosions, car chases, fight scenes. And that was the first thing I was going to produce for Korea.
Wow. And this is working with Jackie Chan?
Yeah.
For his commercial?
Yeah.
And for Korea? So you had to produce all this?
And,
Wow. In 4 days?
Well, the shooting was 4 days.
Yeah.
The preparation was maybe a couple of weeks. But, it was, again, I took a lot of responsibility because it was like, Jackie, and I wanted to do a good job. And that was the first commercial I'd ever produced, which was about 10 years ago now. So since then, I've done a lot of Korean commercials and Korean TV dramas and Korean films.
Wow. So tell me some of the Korean commercials let's go with the commercials first. What are some of the Korean commercials that you've actually produced?
Korean commercials I produced. There was a very famous one a few years ago called, it was for 생명보험, and it was for the Korea Life Building, and it was a guy swimming or floating up the Yuksan building. And that was 2 days of filming underwater.
Oh, wow.
And I was producing that, but it required a stunt guy. And I'm like, well, you can't, they wanted an Asian or Eurasian person for that. And I'm like,